Hey everybody, this is Nigel Hickey from NigelHickey.com, aka vCenter Nerd. We're going to do one of our first live Periscope interviews, the vExpertSpotlight, straight from VMware not VMware, but VMworld in the hang space. Today I have with me Jon Hildebrand.
Hi.
All right, we have one viewer, so that's awesome. We'll see what happens here, John.
Which one of our mothers is the viewer?
Yeah. Whose mom is watching us? Hopefully Stacy's mom, if anybody got that. All right, so I'm going to get off camera here. We're going to go right on John. So John, tell us, first question is Star Wars or Star Trek?
Well, I actually live in a house divided. I bring the Star Wars to the equation. My wife brings the Star Trek to the equation.
Okay.
So our son is going to be well versed in both, but I'm fully expecting lightsaber is going to beat phasers. So
right. Awesome. Yeah, we're a Star Wars family, so it kind of dragged my wife into it. Unfortunately, she was not science fiction, so unfortunately she stuck with it. Peanut butter, I'm going to say crunchy, smooth, creamy, or forget peanut butter?
Extra crunchy.
Extra crunchy, okay, cool. Favorite adult beverage? This is my favorite question.
Well, I live in the Kansas City area,
Okay.
so we got the Boulevard Brewing Company.
Okay.
And they have this special brew that they call Tank 7. It's a farmhouse ale.
Sweet.
High alcohol content, great flavor, and probably why I've got a little too much of this going on.
That sounds good. Let's see what we got here. So we'll move on to, what was your first IT gig, or how did you get started in IT?
Well, yeah. Strangely enough, back in college, I was trying to go to school as a classic programmer.
Right.
But then I got a job on campus working for the IT department there. And what I ended up doing is getting a lot into system administration at that point. And I spent about 3 years working with emeritus faculty who can be just about as fickle as any consulting gig out there.
Sure.
And that ended up landing me my first consultant gig right out of college, where basically I did a lot of Citrix installation on site.
Ooh, okay.
So for a big healthcare software company in Kansas City.
Okay. Yep. Citrix, that sounds fun nowadays.
Not really.
Currently, what's your job role and title?
Well, my business card will say that I'm a senior cloud engineer.
Okay.
And
that's cool.
I work
on paper.
Yeah, I work for a service provider based in the Midwest. Caters to small, medium-sized businesses, and what I tend to do right now is a lot of data center orchestration and automation,
okay.
but mostly from a Cisco perspective. So
okay.
Even though I still dabble in VMware components, I'm making more of a V line a little bit towards the Cisco side of the equation.
Okay. Any of the new Cisco technologies you're touching on, or?
At the moment, it's the Cisco validated stack before ACI.
Okay.
But ACI is still the three-letter word that we're eventually working towards.
Okay. So how many years have you been a vExpert?
This will be the second year.
Okay. See that by your 2 stars on your shirt there? Thank you, Tintry. What kind of advice would you give to others in the community, if it's our VMware community or any other communities, if they were kind of gearing to, to get into that vExpert status? I know some people kind of want to get it because they think it's cool, and other people try too hard. What did you do to kind of get recognized by VMware?
Well, initially, what I had is a project internally where I worked on that our VMware contacts actually said, this is really cool, you should tell people about this. And a lot of persons in that organization didn't really get out of the organization and tell people what they were working on. So I actually got invited to co-present at the local Kansas City vMUG. And from there, what has happened is not only actually standing up in front of people and presenting at a vMUG, but then getting more involved in the VMware community site, especially related to with automation, Power CLI, things like that.
Okay.
And what spawned from there is, first time I did it, scared out of all get out. I mean, it's public speaking, but
very scared.
But now I'm getting to the point where I've now got 7 or 8 presentations in front of various user groups and things like that. It's strange enough, people will flock to those who just like to get their message out there.
Right.
And for the most part, you don't have to really be good at it initially. let's be honest, it's better than doing a storage vendor at a VMworld. So people are more receptive to a user story from somebody who they feel is in their community, just at their same level, than being given a sales presentation.
Right. So that's kind of how I feel as well. I mean, getting out there, talking at the VMUG. My big thing was I didn't want to talk. I did a V brown bag last year, and now I'm addicted to talking. So, I mean, my wife will tell you that I talk all the time, but telling people about your technical story is really hard because you want people to care, and you don't want to say the wrong thing that you don't know what you're talking about or get validated. Forget all that. Just come out and tell us your story, because we've all messed up something and forgot to configure it the right way. Maybe we'll learn from each other. So I'm following along those lines. Just be active in the community. I could definitely tell you that myself.
Yep.
Just a little bit, it goes a long way.
Well, and to echo that, I mostly have done most of my things in the Kansas City area, but I actually, at the opening acts before the VM Underground, I was actually on one of the panels in front of it for the first time. So now, if you want to say, I'm taking my act national, so to speak.
Yeah, next level.
Yeah, so who knows? Maybe I'll have the V brown bag presenter sticker on my laptop at some particular point at the rate.
We hope so. I think so. All right. So, what other communities do you frequent? I know if that's Cisco, like you said, or SolarWinds, or Pernix, something like that.
Yeah. Well, with the Cisco communities on top of it, their evangelist program and the champions, I'm also in that realm. Kind of like how you got the EMC Elect and Pernix Pro and those sorts of things.
Okay.
So, yeah, this last year with a lot of the components that I'm working on with their UCS Director product, I was recognized with. I don't blog very frequently, but when I do, I've got some pretty good reception from that community just in the tidbits of information that come out in it, and based on also presenting at UCS user group meetings at the same time. So there seems to be a theme where I don't necessarily write very well, but presentation for some reason seems to work.
Whatever works, and you're that little bit you're giving back, so that's important. Certifications, do you have any?
Well, the standard VCP 4 and 5.
Okay.
Yeah, technically 5.5. I passed that.
The Delta.
Yeah, the Delta.
That was scary for me.
And I'm actually, because of Cisco-centric stuff, after this conference, my goal before the end of the year is at least like CCNA data center.
Okay.
And with the potential, since I use their cloud product at the same time, CCNA Cloud, and we'll see what goes on from there. But by the end of the year, at least one Cisco cert, and next year, possibly VCP 6 and CCNA Cloud.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to look at 6 until after Christmas.
Yeah.
I'm wore out right now. So what kind of products and services do you use from VMware during your daily?
The organization that I work in is going to be one of those classic senses of we tend to only use the hypervisor.
Okay.
We've dabbled in a few other technologies, six things like vVols and things like that. We'll dabble into it, but whether it actually hits the production floor, that'll be another story.
Okay. Do you have a home lab?
Does that Ravello access count?
Yes, Ravello access counts. Thank you, Ravello. The experts love you, and we appreciate you. And I'm really sorry the first month I left my lab on, and it ran out like in a week because I can't calculate CPU hours, obviously. But yes, Ravello counts as a lab.
Yes, especially now.
So tell us something about yourself that the community may not know. It could be about your family, non-technical.
Strangely enough, well, if you actually followed me on Twitter for some particular reason, there seems to be a particular part of the day that maybe not necessarily all the community is going to know, but I am an avid baseball nut.
Okay.
Whether it's rooting for god-awful teams out there, I'm a lifelong Chicago Cubs fan. I don't think I've ever seen a World Series. Then I had to move to Kansas City, and they were awful until last year. So I got to actually see a World Series, but for the local team, not my boyhood team. So yeah, I'm an avid baseball nut. You will find me constantly flipping on MLB at bat and keeping an eye on all the scores out there.
I have personally seen you. What's your go-to music or music genre? Like when things are stressed out, is that heavy metal? Like I got to really get in the zone, or is that classical? What kind of mellows you out when in a bad day?
I have a couple of Pandora stations that I'll kick on that bring a lot of. I hesitate to say new age type of stuff,
right.
But instrumental that ends up going like longer than a couple of minutes. Like for me, if I sat down with a punk band, I'd want to get up out of my chair and start doing something, which would,
Right,
be,
right.
which would be counterproductive to what I'm doing in front of my screen. But with those, I found out in college that non-speaking music, so just instrumental music to some degree, it gets me focused in the right direction, and I get to get things knocked out that way.
Good advice. Good advice. So it's not always about breaking stuff or throwing the chair across the room.
Well, if I did that, I wouldn't be working there very long.
And you have a blog that you want to tell us about online here?
I have one. Again, it comes mostly from a Cisco perspective, but it's just your standard snoopj.wordpress.com. I don't have any fancy domain, and I think I maybe update it once a month or two, depending upon if I'm active with something.
That's still good. We don't care how much you activate it or update it. It's all good. You got to have something out there. Like you said, there's some value, and we've all searched for blog posts, and I've read Duncan's and other people's from like years ago that I had the problem last week, so it works out. How do we contact you on social media? I think you said your Twitter already. Of Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, anything you want to share?
Mostly when it comes to the tech side, I deal with Twitter.
Okay.
It's one of those that it's kind of like emails. I keep one for personal, one for work or throwaway. Same thing. Facebook is more of a personal thing for family and friends.
Yes.
Even though some of them may follow me on Twitter and then unfollow me after I babble about baseball too much. But Twitter at SnoopJ123.
Okay. Cool. And that's our interview for today. You have anything else you want to tell us, talk about, promote anything that you're going to see today? Any great sessions this week that you're interested in, you want to share with the community?
A few things I'm excited about, obviously, with orchestration is APIs and CLIs. So everybody, my personal belief is that we all should be learning them. Sooner or later, we're all going to have to script and connect foreign systems together. So start the process of learning how to do that with your programming language of choice.
Good advice. We're all going to have to go back to the prompt at some point. So I'm forcing myself power CLI until I swallow it and learn it. So thank you guys for tuning in to the vExpert Spotlight. This is our first one live on Periscope. It'll be up on YouTube later this week. And once again, I'd like to thank Jon for being our first guest at VMworld. Thank you.
Thanks.
See you, everybody.